Okay. One more try, little dog. One more try. How does this look? Look okay? Good enough, little dog. Well, it's about time I actually finish this video that I started. I never really could figure out how to start it versus blabber on for 20-30 minutes. So I figured it's probably easier just to blab on for 20-30 minutes and figure it out the first go around. Mainly because I would talk the entire time and then I would just forget to what to talk about afterwards, my second or third take. So let's just leave it recording. Why don't we, Moose, Frank, whatever. It's a ranch dog. This is my love-hate relationship with my 2005 King Ranch F250 powered by a 6-liter, as maybe the before audio can kind of indicate. I've owned this truck since 2019, yes, or roughly in there. And I bought it with a bad lifter galley specifically. The lifter got stuck in there and messed up the camshaft, and can't really mend a block when the lifter galley, I would call, is really badly scored. So I went ahead and acquired a long block from J&K Diesel out east somewhere, where maybe some of you know about that company, whatever. And with that building process, since I bought this from my good friend who lives in Montana, there was a lot of problems with it. When he acquired the truck, it had like a 6-inch lift. Apparently it's from Florida, never double checked that. And we put it on a Bilstein leveling kit and some 5100 shocks all the way around. And KMC wheels, I believe. They're 17 by 9 wheels on 35 Toyo AT2s. Love that tire. I wish they didn't make it into the AT3, but I understand why people like the aggressive sidewalk. When I acquired the truck, we got the long block from J&K. I got a O-Dog SR3 intake manifold from Oliver down in Southern California. And it had a 63 millimeter Power Max turbo in there at the time. No limit fab, cold side, and an intake. And with that, my buddy bought an Air Dog, so I then got it with the truck and then put in the driven diesel regulated return. I have upgraded the bejesus out of it since 2019. It is 2025 now, so going on like 6 years owning this thing. And the reason why I think I wanted to debut my truck, or at least make a video about it, is because I didn't build my truck the normal 6.0 way or the normal truck way. Southern California and trucks out here are not 10 inches tall, which, given the truck's not stock height anymore, which I get into that a little bit, but it's still leveled and it rides nice. I should preface, nicer. Regardless, with that, from tip to butt, there's so many modifications. I really kind of just want to go off and share what modifications I have done and then kind of highlight my favorite ones. So going with that, literally starting from the very front, I have these Baja Amber SAEs. You have to modify them to go into the 05 through 07 trucks. Right off rip. I spent like $350 on these lights. They might be more. I'll just post them, the actual link to them in the description. You should modify them. The lenses inside the SAE pods, when they're mounted into their brackets for the 05 to 07s, aim the beam right about here. And it's not that bad. If you have like a 10-inch lift truck, because I mean, it might go out to here. Problem is, I can't see that from when you're in the vehicle. I could only see like the corner over here, so I actually pulled them apart and flipped the lenses upside down, threw them back in there, and it actually works properly. So I don't know if I just got a bad version or that were like assembled incorrectly or whatever. But aside from that, these are lovely. I run them all the time as I have all running lights. So like the top and the lowers run at the same exact time, and they're also beams. I run everything turned down so I can run all my lights at all times at night, so I don't have to go from high beam to low beam, just because I wired it for the fog lights to always be on with the high beams as well. So yeah, regardless, that's a different story. Now, after the fog lights, I have a bunch of Mishimoto products. The transcooler, the radiator, the thermostat, the radiator hoses, the degas bottle, essentially anything coolant related, all Mishimoto products, including the transcooler. And I only mention they're the same thing in that category because the transcooler also runs into the radiator for the main radiator. So there's a tiny transmission cooler down there, so Mishimoto as well. Anything cooling related, all Mishimoto. It's also the low temp thermostat. It's okay. I don't really got no qualms with it. It opens at like 186 degrees. Good enough. All good. All lifetime warranty. Would I recommend it? Yes. I'll airplane? Regardless. I will compile a list if anybody's interested of any of the parts that I put on my truck, if you're going for this build style or whatever. If you're interested in any of the parts, I'll make a comprised list and I'll throw it up in a Google Docs or something like that in the video. But all Mishimoto cooling stuff, their products are pretty good. Fitment isn't always 100% on most of their products, just because, you know, Q&A is what it is these days. They probably have more orders than they could probably, you know, deal with for these vehicles, considering radiator blowout because they're plastic cores and yada yada this and that. So intercooler, I still got a stock one. I need to hit up my boys at No Limit and go ahead and acquire one of theirs, or just get another Mishimoto one. I'm not really in the mood to go ahead and replace the intercooler. It's not hard. It literally probably takes only 30 minutes. It's just, I got real no reason. The thing's not blown up yet. Why just chuck money at a truck that always likes me to chuck money at it anyway? So, continue on with the rant. Yeah, it's a stock intercooler. Big whoop. Once it blows up, I'll go ahead and get like, what is it, a SP blah blah, I forgot which, or a No Limit, or a Mishimoto, or even a Blast Performance one, crying out loud, or whatever Kill Devil Diesel makes. Either way, not really all that important. I got the hot side intercooler pipe from one of my homies that just had it underneath his toolbox when I worked at a diesel shop. So I threw that on there. It's from No Limit as well. I believe it was one of their R&D units made out of stainless instead of aluminum. So it's kind of unique in that sense. It's still raw, kind of polish it out, made it look good. What you doing down there? Regardless. Turbocharger, it's a R&D unit from a company that makes turbos for other companies, so it's kind of a toss-up on how much information I can give about it, but I can give its dimensions. It was one of the first 9-blade powered turbos on a truck on the West Coast. I got one of the R&D units for the 9-blade. It's a 65 by 65 millimeter dual plane inducer, and then exducer, I can't really remember, or whatever. It runs phenomenal. Love the 9-blade sound. I have it for vanes open at idle, so it gets like this trippy two-tone kind of vibe where it's really like throaty and aggressive, kind of like V8 choppy, and also really, really obnoxiously high-pitched, both at the same time. And I don't see many 9-blade owners doing it because it's wildly obnoxious. And if you have this turbo in your vehicle and it doesn't have any mufflers or any sound deadening to it, I understand. But I got used to being the only person around with this turbo, so it kind of defined my truck. Continue on, 150 bucks, Amazon, with some aux beam headlights, top, lower, signal lights, everything lighting on this thing aside from the Bala Designs aux beam. Down to the nitty gritty. I already mentioned it's a long block from J&K Diesel. That, however, has been changed. The original build was a long block with ARP head studs, the ODOG SR3, the driven diesel regulated return. 155/30s were put in because I was going from 190/30s that were currently in the truck to 155/30s. So it was just too smoky, and I didn't want to blow out the transmission. In hindsight, that was just stupid. But regardless, now it blew its head gaskets within like the first year of me driving the truck with the 155/30s, and I believe it's because I maybe have over revved it breaking in the motor quite a few times, because third gear was slipping hard right after I got the whole motor built.
Nice.
Hence why I should have just kept the 190/30s, because I got a Samwise Stage 2 with one of the first go-ren converters, as I was told by Sam. And it was a really nice transmission until that exploded. And yeah, well, okay, the transmission didn't break, the bell housing broke. We'll go on that later. So since then, the motor has gone from a few renditions. It's all stock bottom end. I didn't want to do anything fancy to it, just stock. From the top end up, right currently I have extreme diesel studs in there. They're like a 400,000 tensile strength stud that's a little bit girthier than the ARP, like, what are they, the 275s or 250s? So I went with that option. No Limit carries them on their website. They're pretty dang good. They only have you torque them up to 170 foot-pounds, which I've read up on some forums that these blocks are actually notorious for cracking under, if you were to, one, blow the head gasket with the 625 head studs from ARP, which ARP is only right over there. So it's not really the biggest deal in the world for me to go acquire some ARP studs, but I didn't want the block to crack, because that was the most important thing for me about this truck, is that I wanted the block to be okay, so then I can upgrade it later, throw in some main studs and maybe a stage 2 like KDD cam and fluid dampener and all that, because I wanted to build my truck. I was still in the automotive industry. I wanted to tear it apart in the night, have the cab off and everything with my buddies, and do it the fun way. Yeah, that's been too many times with this truck. It's 3 times. I went and bought some Kill Devil Diesel Icon Series aluminum cylinder heads. They are awesome. People say that the throttle response you get from the ODOG SR3 intake manifold over the stock one is a game changer for throttle response and how your truck runs efficiently. I would say that these cylinder heads do that even more so, because I didn't just get the regular Icons, I got the big valved CNC ported version that are for the race trucks, which can hold the 2,000 horsepower that some of the, like Charlie Fish's truck has the same exact cylinder heads as my truck. Like, they are 1 for 1, you can just swap them, except for he's probably got better valve springs and the the Jessel, or adjustable rockers, and he's probably got all that fanciness. I just got the regular hydraulic hydraulic roller setup in here, stock, as I continue to repeat myself. Regardless, that made throttle response and efficiency go through the roof. Like, it's basically like if the 155/30s were the OEM size injectors, that's how this truck feels. It doesn't smoke all heavily. It runs efficient, because you can go through the whole forum of why those cylinder heads are better. They're more like a 6-7 power stroke cylinder head with the high velocity runners and all that. I read the thing and I went, sign me up, and I bought them. And the most expensive thing on these trucks, actually, the bottom end is cheaper than the cylinder heads. But when you're into LS motors and stuff like that, you're kind of like used to buying nice fancy cylinder heads. These don't exist. They only existed for like a few months, and then I got these cylinder heads, so it was pretty cool. A little backstory: Tried to buy the regular ones, none in stock. You had to get on the back order. And then I asked the lady, I'm like, you got any of those fancy aluminum ones? Actually, I forgot your name, the owner of Kill Devil. Your wife actually hooked me up to these cylinder heads. Super nice lady. You're awesome. I was like, no shot you got any of those fancy aluminum ones sitting around. She's like, oh yeah, we got the racing ones. They're like $5,000. I went, oh, cool. Yeah, how about I have my buddy call you back and order them, you know, from you, because he's gonna give me your dealer discount. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. We'll get them both prepped for you. I'm like, I'm gonna put 120-pound valve springs in those things. So if you can kind of get on that, yeah. So that's another thing. I have the 120 PSI valve springs in here with the, I think, River City Diesel chromoly push rods, and I don't know what lifters in there. They're probably some just random OEM lifter that you can pull out of an LS7, whatever. So with that, my engine's kinda modified. It's got the nicest cylinder heads you can buy possibly for them. Not the nicest options, but the nicest cylinder heads you can possibly buy for this engine. Thrown on here with some 150 530s, and it runs like the stock air fuel ratio. Like it doesn't smoke all that much. Speaking of other motor stuff, which I have forgot, I have the BD diesel exhaust manifolds that are also kind of ported. They're like much larger. Which, speaking of the ports back to the SR3, I did port them to 32 millimeters per port. The factory is 27 or 32. Yeah, factory is 27 millimeters on the inlets for stock cylinder heads. These are 32 millimeters, so I had to bore them out. I just took a router and just real fast. I do have the billet aluminum intake manifold gaskets that come with these cylinder heads. They're not come with it, but you got to buy them for these cylinder heads. Super nice, reusable. You can just buy the O-rings and put them right back together. Super nice. Yep. And Rudy up pipes, and I wrapped everything with titanium exhaust wrap. The 373s, on the other hand, the gearing makes it smoke, because if you just drive it normally, you know, if you learn how to drive with, you know, improperly gear ratioed vehicles, which I have some time and experience with, you figure out like how to like kind of like lug them up to where they're going to drive normally, and then kind of just drive them from there. So it's fine. Last time I dynoed this truck was at a company called Performs Diesel. It made 450 with the 150 530s and the Samwise Stage 2 transmission, and on that 35s. Now I have more efficient airflow, which burns more of the fuel, so then it doesn't smoke and, you know, carbon up all of the fuel. So it feels much better. Drives phenomenally. And then before I get to the transmission story, I got the front axle to talk about. Now, as you've heard me talk about, I still have the 373 gears that are still in these diffs. I have the full Nitro gear kit. Thank you, Nitro, for giving me that nice discount if you buy multiple kits. I got like them for like $700, the front and rear kit for, I believe, 430s or 410s? And 430s. Because I'm eventually going to go bigger, so then I can have the whatever. So they're 430s, and it's front and rear. The front axle, the steering I can start off with being the Kryptonite billet death grip kit. Super nice, way too nice. It's full billet aluminum with their Kryptonite lifetime warranty rod ends, and that is also the lower tie rod and the upper tie rod to the actual gearbox. Very, very nice. I got no qualms with it. I got a Carly track bar on there. It's adjustable. That's it. You do have to modify these to get them properly, you know, set up on a leveling kit, but if you go taller, you have no problem. This is actually the same exact height as the 2.5-inch Carly springs. I measured it, you know, side by side when I did the modifications. But, you know, some people have to cut the ends of the 05-07 track bars to resize them for the leveling kits. Otherwise, you have like a little bit extra on one side, but I just got it close enough. I just cranked it all the way in and called it a day, because who cares? I'm the only person that knows. Aside from you know. Internally, the stock axle got some mag high tech diff covers, front and rear. Warren manual locking hubs. I got rid of all the vacuum because I didn't want a vacuum leak. I already have to deal with it with the AC. Why am I gonna have a bunch of vacuum lines running down to my axle and then cause me a vacuum leak and then not have my AC running? Boss! Oh, buddy. Hi. You're good. You're good. Lay down. Do your thing. So, why would I cause a bunch more vacuum leaks and everything like that? Hi. Hi. Bless you. So, got rid of all that. Manual locking hubs from Warren. And, yeah, it pretty much sums up the front axle. It's literally nothing all that crazy. Oh, the steering stabilizer. This is actually a neat kit. I saw one dude on Instagram. I wish I could tell you who he was, but he mentioned it was for sled pulling or on his truck. And then I found it. It's a 1-up off-road 2.5 Fox ATS stabilizer kit for the 05 to 07 trucks. It goes straight off the pitman arm. You got to put this weird all fucking bracket on there, and then you mount it to the OEM, or not the OEM, but OEM placement mount. You replace the mount and it's in the same place as it. But yeah, no, it's super trippy. I really like it. It's way too much adjustment, to be perfectly honest, because you can make it so you can't even turn. I mean, 37, 13.5s doesn't help that either, but I mean, you really can lock it up. But really excellent modification. I saw he used it for sled pulling because he could lock it up and just make it go straight. And for the off-road stuff that I like doing, it's really nice because once I get out there and I start bouncing off of rocks left and right, despite the wheels, which I've done before, it's a lot of help. I'll also put that in the link in the description. You can also get that for the 2008 to 10 trucks as well. And then the 11 to up, you can just buy the ATS. They'll bolt on there, so there's no point. And yeah. The wheel bearings are also kryptonite. Yeah, that's it. It's wheels and tires. Obviously, we're to that section of the truck. See, I told you it was just gonna be a rant. We're to that point of the truck. They're 37 13.5s, I've probably said before. 12 ply Nitto, they're the Recons. And this is a really interesting tire size because since it's F rated, they're actually rated for like 3,900 pounds DOT. So I actually am fine if I'm gonna go tow something crazy, which I'm not going to, but I have before, so I bought them intentionally for that reason. So one of the highest rated non-commercial tires you can possibly put for this size. I know that like the Whirly shop truck, the Kodiak, has these in like a 12.5. That's actually an AT3, I believe. Or no, the tire size is the more important portion because 37 12.5 in an F rated, but these are the first ones I found in a 13.5. So that's why I got them. The wheels I bought from a customer when I worked at a suspension shop doing off-road lift kits. Super nice guy. I love you. You know who you are. Yeah, they're KG1 Vals, whatever. I believe these are distributor set. So they're meant to put on a wall, not a truck. And that's why they're the same wheel. They're directional, but they're all the same wheel. They don't have the other direction that you're supposed to have when you get them ordered. But that's what happens when you work in the automotive industry. You kind of get the leftover parts or the distributor sets or the R&D parts. So I believe they're 22 by 10 vials, I don't know. KG1 forged, they're nice. I polished them out quite a few times and then stopped caring about all the polishing equipment. All of the, what's it called? Whatever, I'll forget it later. About all the polishing equipment, like the legit polishing stuff, like you got the big old rotor, you polish aluminum, I sanded them down to like 800 grit or like 600 grit or something like that, and then brought them back up to mirror polish. Yeah, I got tired of that, so I asked to wash them and called it a day, because that's too much work for just some wheels, because honestly, big wheels suck anyway, but I like these because it kind of gives a weird vibe. It's an OEM wheel to tire ratio if you just blow it up. And I know that doesn't really make all that much sense, but these trucks came factory with like an 18-inch wheel on like a 275 or something like that. Basically a 33. I forget all the metric sizing. So it's like a 33 on an 18. So if you're to blow that up to a 22, it's almost a 37 on a 22. That's what I'm getting at. So it looks OEM from far away, but then once you walk up to it, you're like, oh damn, those are 37s, because, oh bitch. Hello dog. Now to the fun part. What's supporting the front end of the truck? These are 3.0 King coilovers from Camberg Off-Road. They're an 8-inch stroke. I wish I got 10-inch strokes that are IBPs, but moreover, it's another story. And they are set. Hey, don't chase that squirrel. What am I gonna do? Tell him no? Now, it's the same exact height as the Carly springs because I mentioned before I had Bilstein springs in here. Then I went to Carly, and then I went to these 3.0s. And Bungie had some King 2.5 leveling kit shocks on here. Got rid of those just for the 3.0 King coilovers. Game changer, absolute game changer. Just adjust the knob off-road, adjust the knob on street. I got it pretty dialed to be kind of like an enduro setup, so it's still comfortable on both. Right now it's more biased for off-road just because I want to save my back driving around the ranch, so I just real fast. And then when I go on the street, I'll just dial it up like 2 or 3 turns, and then it's, you know, pretty agile. And I deleted the front sway bar also, just because I can crank up the coilovers, and there's no point. If I can make them super stiff, it's not gonna roll. Pushing it a little bit farther back, I think I covered everything in the engine bay that's really any important. Optima batteries in here, they suck. Don't buy them, get full throttle. Next part, is that everything? Oh, blue top gearbox. I've heard great things, bad things. Is what it is. I've had no problems, but I also bought it right when the company started. So I have no relevant information about how they are in 2025. But doing pretty good for me. Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. That's all the motor stuff. That is all the motor stuff. I already said about the regular return driven diesel. Yep, that's all the motor stuff. To the rear of the front axle. Carly suspension, 2.5-inch radius arms, or whatever the heck they call them. They're fully fabricated radius arms from Carly. The only important information you need to know is they have adjustable caster and they have a Johnny joint Heim or a spherical Heim in the rear. Most important thing to upgrade on an F250 to current date. Most important. This is the first year F250 with radius arms. Go buy them, put them on your truck. If you're not going to do anything, the only upgrade you're going to do, Carly radius arms, go get them. Don't get any other radius arm that has a polyurethane with a sleeve. No, don't. Carly radius arms for the win. I don't care about your 4-link because I'm not a 4-link guy. This is simple. They're not going to break. Your frame will break before these, and your frame's not going to break. Get them, because when you're going over bumps, these axles don't cycle up and down. They cycle side to side and up and down. Get it? Now we put a polyurethane sleeve in there, and a steel sleeve and a polyurethane bushing. They don't allow movement from left to right, let alone the stock ones. Pfft, don't get me started. Get rid of those. Chuck them down the hill. Throw them in the trash. Put these ones on here, then it allows free movement. I got the coilovers and those, best ride. It's on a leveling kit. I just trimmed to fit these big bastards of tires. Cut it, just cut it. Yeah, just cut it. Just cut, trim, cut the firewall, whatever, get it done. I have off-roaded this truck a bunch. The front axle doesn't flex that much. The rear axle does, a lot, way too much. Next story. The G4 AirDog fuel pump with the adjuster to like 80 PSI. Yep, that's all you need to know. Get it, buy it. Good product. Never let me down. Great fuel pump. I have it set to 75 psi, and then I overhead it. That sounded kind of funny. I hope the audio is not just going through crazy right now because it's a little windy. So I overhead pressured it. So there's more pressure coming from the pump than the regulator return's allowed to let back. So it's about like set at like maybe 65, 70 at the regulator return stop, and then 75, so then it pushes a little bit more. So, yep. Fun fact about these cylinder heads, they don't have deadhead cooling system either. Cooling system upgrade on top of more airflow, more fuel, more power. Continue back down the line, I have the Carly 2.5-inch D-release springs. Fun fact, they don't make them for this truck. Got to remove that leaf spring hanger, go buy like $30 worth of graded 8 bolts, drill some holes, throw them forward, throw in the Carly 2.5s. You'll thank me later because they ride way damn nicer than stock. Your back is going to be in love with you. There's no blocks on this truck. There's no leaf spring lift blocks. That's just raw leaf spring to axle. That's how it should be. Rides really nice. I got the OEM replacement 13-inch stroke or 12-inch stroke with the rod ends. I can't remember exactly. OEM King 2.5s. They're currently blown out. Why? Because I towed something I shouldn't and they blew out the rings. Am I going to care about it? No, I'm going to just order 3.0s and, you know, deal with it later. The shock mounts from Carly, I haven't put on them yet, but they're still in the box, on my toolbox. I got PMF long travel hangers or lowering shackles. They have this 2 different descriptions, but the same part on their website, I believe. Don't go after me if I'm wrong. That's all I think it is. That pretty much settles it. Same mag high tech diff cover in the rear, and that sums it up as far as that goes. I go off-roading probably like 200-mile trips. I have like I would say every year in the middle of Mojave. I've done them on 37 12.5s on 17s a few times, and then these I've done once. I only scratched one wheel. Super funny. I met some people from San Diego when we were out with the lava tubes, and they looked at me like I was insane because they had their Raptors on 35s and stuff like that with 17s. And they saw this thing with big old Forge 22s on 37s. They were like, what are you doing? So, kind of funny. Accessories, CTS3 or CTS3 monitor. I haven't updated it since I bought it like 3 years ago. Probably should do that. Will I? Not today. 08 mirrors, Amazon. Got the chrome caps. Got the chrome door handles off my old boss's Platinum F250. That was like a 2014 actually. And yeah, they just slap right in. Super nice. They're nice chrome. I don't understand why people have painted door handles, because especially if the clear coat's bad on them, then like the oil on your fingers kind of saturates it there. The chrome, just wipe that shit off. Call it a day. I got some wrap on the B-pillars. Amazon. I threw it on there, did a terrible job, thrashed my paint because I was trying to trim it, and then I cut the actual paint because I don't care about the paint on this truck. It chips anyways, but it's still kind of good. And I got some 08 taillights that I messed up, and don't even have reverse lights because who needs those? Probably should. And I got like a 2012 bumper on the rear. But yeah, that is the tip to butt of my truck. And honestly, like, as much as modifications go for these vehicles, I think they're great. I love this truck to death. I will never get rid of it. I have spent way too much money on it, especially because I have an OEM transmission in this thing again, because I'm still waiting on my Samwise transmission to come back because I broke the bell housing. That's all. I broke it. Go Ren converter, snapped the stud, went in between the flex plate and the bell housing loss. Simple story. But I broke the only thing on a Samwise Stage 2 that I could possibly break with like 400 horsepower, which is rated for 800. Crazy. Sam, please give me my transmission back. It's been like 2 years. I'm a patient man, but patience only has so long of a contract. And yeah, it's got like 5% tin all the way around. The whole sound system rods for Fosgate, some double din touchscreen radio, whatever, and sound deadening on the whole floor and up the firewall and stuff like that. So nothing too crazy. Do I hate this truck? With a passion. I hate this truck, but I also would never get rid of it. Why? Because it constantly never dies on me. I've never broken down aside from something I could have fixed right then and there, but I just left it and came back the next day, threw it together, called it a day. Never really has let me down. As funny as I can say, I have broken this truck when I stopped driving it. Does it make any sense? No. When you look at it reasonably, the O-rings dry up when you stop driving them, then they start leaking. Fuel system works off of high pressure oil. Makes sense. I got a bad injector right now. I still need to go pick up the 150 530. Will I? Eventually. But I got other issues to deal with first. And yeah, future upgrades for this truck? Yeah, build the motor again. Get my stage 2 to a stage 4. Whatever. Get the gearing done. Go to a 10-inch King IBP with some 3.0 secondaries for the front. Get some 3.5 rears with some maybe hydro bumps and like a little bed cage. I'm gonna just turn this into like an overlanding rig with like a camper and all that, and just take it off-road and do my thing. I went up to Manson's cabin with it. Took it to Manson's cabin out the back to the striped butte. And it's super fun. I love off-roading this truck, but I also want it still to be practical so I can still drive it to like go to get groceries and stuff. Yeah, it is what it is. I love these trucks. I will never get rid of it. I will buy a 6.7 eventually because it's way better of an option. But, Moxie, as I call her, it's pretty good. Got like 60 grand into this big old turd. It's one of the heavily modified 6.0s here where I live, and probably in the United States, aside from stupid lift kits and stupid modifications or just big power, which I have no problem with. Make big power. Speaking of power, I want to do, like connecting rods, camshaft, main studs, compound kit, maybe like a 81 mil precision on the outside. Still, like maybe go to a 63 mil VGT, get it to quieten up the truck, maybe like 205 30 injectors, and yeah, do like a water to air kit, maybe, like that would be interesting, doing like a big single with like a shortened up water to air kit, like do one of those no limit intercoolers for like a 6.7, and just go like from turbo, intercooler, intake. And I know that doesn't make sense, but like the air goes from here to here to here to here to here on these trucks. Instead, just make it from here to here to here to here. Kind of cut out like 8 feet of intercooler pipe. That'd be cool. But aside from that, I don't really have anything I want to do with it. Like, yeah, I put a 4.5-inch lift on there, 10-inch stroke IBP 3.0 Kings with some 3.0 dual pipe ass secondaries, or maybe even just like the IBP with an adjuster as well on the secondary. Do some 3.5s, 5 or quad bypasses in the rear. Why? Because why not? That's my only explanation. Now, I feel like they're too stiff when you drive them normally, so if I can get it in like the right bump zone, get it in the correct length, because it's still going to be like a 13.5-inch stroke shock, I believe, maybe even a 12-inch with like a rod end that's not just welded to it. Just saying. And just get it properly bumped so then it's nice, and then when I go off-road and just turn the screws, I can just mark it out, write down how many turns, and then just do that. Go off-road with it. Have fun. Only thing I gotta say that's like relevant information, if you get the 2.5-inch Devers, take the 2 bottom plates out of the leaf springs. Technically these come with 13 leaves, mine have 11. Just pull the 2 bottoms out of there, throw it back together, rides a little bit plusher on the street, just because it's not so snappy. Kind of gives a little bit more like throw through. And if you're gonna want to buy a 6.0 and start building it, for the love of God, get one with like 150,000 miles on it, and like don't do anything stupid. Like honestly, just don't outpace your upgrades. Throw a turbo at it. Sure, don't buy a 68. Do not buy a 68. I'm still a dog with 65 mil. But I'm not smart. That's why I own a 6.0. That's my love-hate relationship with them. Well, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. There is a subscribe button. I know that's really like what you would expect from watching a YouTube video, but it would be really appreciated. I want to start doing more of this stuff. I've got like a lot of stuff I want to do videos about, but motivation, it comes and goes because I've been grinding Marvel Rivals lately and I just want to do content about that. But I do automotive stuff, I do firearm stuff, I do video game stuff, do car stuff, truck stuff, I do ranch stuff. I got a lot of stuff I can do, but it's more or less just trying to figure out what I want to do. Even tech stuff with cameras and whatnot, I'll do that too. I just don't know what to do because I got so much I can do. So then my ADHD tells me, nah, do it later. Procrastinate. But thanks for watching. How are we outro, doggo? Go back inside and play some Marvel Rivals? I think so. Instead of editing? Yep, Marvel Rivals. Thanks for watching. Do it for Dale. Come on. Let's go. Shit's like an hour-long rant.